Welcome back, everybody, to Cool Times Podcast. We talk all things cool about the cold storage construction industry. Joining me, my better half, Miss Jenna Free, business and life partner. We have an awesome guest on today and a sector of cold storage construction I don't think we have a lot of guests speak on.
We don't.
You actually might be the first.
He is the first.
Yeah. Fire protection.
Well, thank you.
You're the fireman, ladies and gentlemen. We got Vince Humphreys on the line here from Ahern, and our boy is
gonna educate us.
Vinny H, man, Vinny Barbarino. I'm a Vince. You're a Vince. There's a lot of Vince nicknames.
Only Vinces can call each other Vinny. I mean, that's like.
I actually do want to call you Vinny. And I want you to call me Vinny. And
it's gonna be even more confusing for me.
And I want a secret handshake.
I thought we were gonna eliminate confusion, but now you're adding to it. So
welcome to my life.
And I want a secret handshake, like a fire protection handshake where we do this, and that. And then I'm doing the fire and you're going to do the sprinkler.
The water. Okay. Perfect.
Oh boy.
I think that was off a Friends episode, wasn't it?
Well, you are the Friends lady, Jenna.
Yeah. But that's fire.
That's fire. That's fire.
He says it in the bloopers, but it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great episode.
Vince, you're in charge of sales for Ahern. Your
business development.
I mean, you are the face of Ahern right now. You're on the board of CEBA right now, the Controlled Environment Building Association. You attend a lot of our Global Cold Chain Alliance conferences. We see you all over the place. You got the same name as me. Man, you're cool, man. You're crushing it.
Well, thank you, Vinny. I do appreciate that. You're right, though. We see each other all over the place. And I think probably the first time I met you is probably 8 to 10 years ago. It's the first time, and it was refreshing to have another Vince in the mix. So I do appreciate that. And we became good friends over the years. Really have come to know you guys, both Jenna and you guys, through the conferences, and really appreciate the times we get together.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, welcome to the show. Would you do us and our guests the favor of kind of telling us a little bit about Ahern? Give us a little background, and even us take that a step further of how you got involved at Ahern.
Sure. So Ahern is a large company. So the proper name for the company is called JF Ahern. It was founded in 1880.
Whoa.
So almost as long as your company, Vince.
Thank you.
Wait, where's my laugh?
Yeah.
I have a laugh. I just don't know which button it is.
So the company was founded in 1880 in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. It was a plumbing company at that point in time, steam, etc. Obviously in the 1800s. Here we are, right? 2024. It is still family. It is still family owned.
Really?
Family run.
So cool.
So are they passed that company down from generation to generation since 1880?
That's correct. Yes. So that's pretty impressive, right? And it's very much heritage. It's very much DNA, which I like. Mm-hmm. And once again, though, that it's a mechanical plumbing contractor is how it kind of started. In the 1980s, Ahern brought on fire protection and has developed ever since, and has grown to be a complete major component of JF Ahern. So our division is Ahern Fire Protection. We have several offices throughout the Midwest, regional offices, Omaha, Minneapolis, Quad Cities, several in Wisconsin, Des Moines, etc. So the division that I'm involved in is our national division. So we've kind of spread out everything outside of those regionals. We have customers that come to us within those regions with their projects, and in some cases it is more suited to a regional application. So they come to us, we reach out to our regional partners, we stay involved in the project, but they in essence kind of run with those opportunities. So we've got a full reach. We're licensed in 48 states.
Wow, that's impressive.
We're across the board. So yeah, good company to be with. Really have, know what they're doing. They've got a clear line of sight for future, etc. So it's really great. I will tell you that years back, I forget how many years back, that they went and bought the original building where it started in 1880. The building's still
in
standing
Fond du Lac.
in Fond du Lac. It's on Main Street, and they created a museum.
Oh,
And it's also a large conference room too. So they've got the whole walls are lined with pictures from the 1880s. They've got old lead bathtubs that they were selling back then, the whole thing. So
wow.
it's really impressive. We bring customers in, to walk through our shops and our offices, things like that. In a lot of cases, we actually take them to that area for breakfast, get to know each other, let them view all of the old memorabilia, things like that. So
that's so cool to be able to, for a company to have been in business that long and be able to go back to the original place and create something that gets to be this memory that's shared.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Does that mean we get to go back to Rancho Santa Margarita and buy our old house back and like turn our upstairs bedroom into a museum?
Pass.
Oh.
Where was the laugh button, Jenna? Come on.
What's where it all started?
I know which one it is. They're not labeled. I usually just use this one, Vince.
Oh, God. So Vinny, Fond du Lac, man, that's Wisconsin where we're from. And Fond du Lac is what, an hour shy-ish, 30 minutes shy of Green Bay? Is that it?
Yeah, it's almost halfway between Milwaukee and Green Bay on Highway 41 in between the two. Yep, right in the middle. Yep.
Awesome.
Right on the south end of Lake Winnebago.
And if you're watching this podcast right now on YouTube, you have a unbelievable background.
I do. So I live up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. I'm an hour and a half northwest of Green Bay. And so they call us up here wood ticks, and we're wood ticks for a reason. You can see all the background behind us. But we love living up here, snowmobiling during the winter, ice fishing, you name it. During the winter, during the summer, it's ATV riding, fishing, boating, everything.
So much to do.
Yeah.
Yep. So my wife and I, we both enjoy living up here. We've got family down in Milwaukee, daughter and family and grandkids and the whole shooting match. We used to live in Colorado, so our youngest daughter remained in Colorado. That's where she lives, and she's expecting here.
Wow.
I think within 3 weeks. Yeah. Very exciting.
Well, congrats. That's exciting.
Are you going to be a grandpa for the first time?
No. We have grandkids down in Milwaukee. And,
Yep,
that's exciting.
That's exciting.
Always exciting to add a new grandchild.
It is.
Is it her first?
Yeah.
This is her first, yes.
Oh, that's really special.
Yeah.
Looks like you're going to be going to Colorado soon there, bud.
I actually am. I'm heading there the end of June for an opportunity. I told her I'm swinging by, and she goes, well, you never know. You might have a new granddaughter by the time you get here, so we'll see.
Oh, that's exciting.
Very exciting.
Love that.
My daughter, my oldest daughter and my wife were just there a little bit ago for the baby shower. So they got to enjoy, a week with them. And so that was good.
That's special. Well, so I love hearing about your family, and you work for a family company. So tell us how you got involved in the family company at Ahern.
Yeah. So I was working for a fabrication shop. I was a welder. I was a certified welder, both structural and high pressure, working for a small mom and pop shop, right? Very family. And Ahern came knocking one day, and they needed a welder in their shop. This was in 1992, I believe. So I went and worked for Ahern as a welder in their fabrication shop. And after several years, things slowed down a little bit. I was working second shifts. Things slowed down a little bit. So I got laid off, and I walked into the vice president, fire protection, and told him, we kind of all talked about, I don't want to weld for the rest of my life. Is there any other opportunities? I took an aptitude test, and I did very well in engineering. And so through that, they put me in a program to start doing engineering design, excelled at that, moved into project management, worked for them till 1996, I believe. I can't tell you that I was doing a little quasi stuff for a little bit. I was welding at nights, and I was designing during the day. That lasted a few months for the transition, but that was pretty exciting. But in 1996, we decided that my wife and I, family, we wanted to move to the West Coast. So we moved to Vancouver, Washington. We were not working with Ahern at that point in time. Worked for a different company. Throughout the process of working for that company, we got relocated to Denver, Colorado to open up a brand new branch for that company in Denver. And we worked through that. That company decided that they wanted to downsize and really get back to their main roots, which was the Northwest. And so they decided to close down our branch. It was unfortunate. However, I gave the boys over at Ahern a call and said, hey, any opportunity? And they said, absolutely. So here I am. So came back to Ahern. So, you know, I've been working remote since I think it's 2010. I think is I've been working remote. So nothing new for me to do that through all the pandemic stuff. So, and so I came back to Ahern as sales, project management, and then obviously have come up into the senior sales and business development. Love my job. Love dealing with customers. Love talking about fire protection. I do lunch and learns all over the country, golf events all over the country. I just, you know, I love dealing with customers and talking, as you can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's exciting. As far as like the sales side and your outreach, when you're on the road and visiting customers, is it a lot of like end user interaction? Are you meeting with GCs? You meet with architects? Like, how are you getting your name out there?
It's all of it. It's a lot of end users. I do go and do lunch and learns with a lot of the big 3PLs and, you know, you name it. I'm out there talking to them about different types of fire protection and different types of racking, right? I mean, that's the key to the whole building envelope, right? Is how many product loads can go in a building. And so, you know, there's very specific dialogue about racks and flue spacing, right? Transverse longitudinal flue spacing, what the requirements are currently, what the requirements may be in the future that we're seeing, et cetera, so that the developers, the end users are seeing these and starting to plan for them. So lots of dialogue about that. General contractors, I'm in offices all the time doing lunch and learns or just popping my head in and going out for lunch or going golfing or things like that. I also do a lot of interaction with different fire departments around the country where we're doing projects. I always feel that it's a benefit for one of our team members to get into the fire department, talk to the heads of the fire department, explain what we're doing, how we're going to do it, because the technology sometimes that we're using currently is not necessarily driven by NFPA or Factory Mutual. It's a little bit of methodology, and so you got to get in there and explain it and give them information. So there's a lot of the fire department interaction as well.
That's really nice that you guys do that. So
that's really unique.
It is very unique
because it can bring, like, I feel like you can learn from them and they can learn from you of what you're doing. It becomes this really like value add relationship between somebody that you're not even maybe selling the product to. But
if you've been watching the news and following these fire trends lately, I mean, there are plants across the country burning down randomly, and chicken plants, and all of a sudden a meat plant, right? So do you guys ever look back and do like studies as to, hey, if that was my fire protection system, or even if it wasn't mine, what system did they have in place? Where did it go right? Where did it go wrong? Do you guys ever like look at that and investigate stuff that's happened in the past?
Yeah, we don't want to get too involved in that, you know, but
putting you on the hot seat.
Yeah, you are. Thank you, by the way. Once again, it's the fire.
Fire.
The sprinkler.
So, yes, we do on occasion take a look at that. And a lot of the situations that we're seeing is product loading, right?
Just as I
discussed before, flue spacing, transverse and longitudinal flue spacing.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Explain to our listeners what that means.
Sure. So a transverse flue space is the space between loads. So you've got, let's say a typical rack is typically 8'4" wide, right? And you've got two pallets that sit in this rack, right? Each pallet is typically 40 inches in width. So if you do, right, so you've got these spaces on each side of the pallets, right?
Right.
So that's the transverse. The transverse flue space goes parallel with the loading. That means if you're on a forklift and you're pushing your load into the rack, that is the transverse flue space, right?
Okay.
So both Factory Mutual and NFPA have really started to crack down on this flue spacing because of what you said, Vince, about these fires, the testing, things like that. So they require these 6-inch flue spaces on between each of these pallets. Now, the longitudinal flue space is perpendicular with the loading, parallel with the load aisle, okay?
Got it.
Same situation. If you get into a certain depth, they want those flue spaces as well. What that does, there's two things that this allows, these flue spaces, these requirements. It allows heat, if there's ever an event, it allows heat to escape up to activate the sprinkler systems. And then once the sprinkler system activates, it allows the water to penetrate down through the load, through all of those transverse flue spaces.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Space for
So
it.
if you have all of this butted storage, meaning that there's no flue spaces, right? If a fire starts underneath the load, it could travel horizontally underneath the load and continue until it is completely overwhelmed.
Wow.
And once that has happened, no sprinkler system will ever put it out, right?
Wow.
So that's the requirement of these flue spaces, is to allow both heat to get up to activate the sprinkler system and water to get down to put the fires out.
That's wild. I never thought of fire traveling underneath pallets and not having enough room to get up in between that spacing to activate, or get enough heat to activate the sprinkler system. Right? So that fire can go on for 50, 100 feet and it's way too late, right?
Yeah.
Yes. If it goes horizontal for, let's just say 30 to 40 feet, it's too far. It's gone.
Wow.
So the other aspect of this too is some of the investigations that we're hearing that we kind of delve into a little bit is also the product in the building.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So we curtail to a certain criteria. We provide information to the owner of or developer of the facility, right? And we ask very specific questions. What are you storing? How are you storing it? What type of pallets are you using? What is the carton that everything is in? We ask very specific information. Through that very specific information, then we provide the criteria necessary to protect those products, right?
Wow.
And so through that protection, everything is set. Yes, everything's good. What is happening is there are so many SKUs in the world, right? I mean, and you look at an Amazon distribution, right? I mean, there could be 500,000 SKUs in that warehouse.
Yeah.
You look at some of these food distribution warehouses, there are so many SKUs. The problem is, can you control all of those products that are coming in? Right? And so what if we design to a class 3 commodity and all of a sudden they bring in a class 4 commodity, right?
Okay.
Well, our sprinkler system was never designed to protect the class 4. Or what if they're bringing products in with a plastic pallet? Our system was never designed to incorporate plastic pallets. So that's what we're seeing as well, is the control of all of that product coming into these warehouses.
Wow. So do you guys have different class types for that? Class 3 and 4?
We do. Typically frozen foods are in that class 2 range. Okay. Sometimes into mostly into the class 3, but class 2. But then you get into the packaging. Is it cardboard? How is it separated? Is there plastic, is the food or whatever into plastic trays with a plastic film, right? So we got to take that into account.
How's that determined? Like the formula of,
Yeah, so typically frozen foods are class 2. By the way, I don't know if you can hear, but it's starting to sprinkle a little bit. So
can't hear that.
Can't hear it.
But hey, man, you're in the woods, man.
Typically, frozen foods are a class 2 commodity. Now, we all know that there's plastic involved in every packaging in everybody's life, right?
Yeah.
And so NFPA and both NFPA and Factory Mutual and the International Fire Code allow for a percentage. That percentage is 5% by weight or volume of Group A plastics as part of that packaging to be incorporated into that frozen food. And then what happens is it takes it from a class 2 to a class 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the classification of it. So
got it. What's a class 4? What makes it a 4?
Class 4 is more into oils, more into flammables, combustibles, that type of thing. Takes it more into a class 4, more plastic packaging.
Mm-hmm.
That goes up to, I believe it's a 10% to a 15% plastic packaging, etc. So, yep.
Wow. So, and you have different types of sprinkler systems out, Jen and I are on our way to work, before this podcast. And I'm thinking like, Jenna's like, I don't know a lot about fire protection. I go, I'm going to level with you. I don't know a lot either. So this is going to be very educational for both of us, but I know there's coil systems and in-racks and those different types, right? If you walk into a building or meet a customer that has a project, how do you determine what is the best system? And are there are there different types of systems you can offer that come at a different price point?
Sure. So once again, I think it all starts with the product. What are you guys trying to store in this building?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about height?
Yeah, height is another thing too. So typically a coil system, the K34 technology is capped at a 55-foot tall building. Okay, that is ceiling only, meaning the sprinkler system at the ceiling will control everything below, but it's capped at that 55.
Does that 55 start, like, is it the metal deck of the freezer at 55 or cooler at 55, or is it the sprinklers are hanging down a little bit within the joist, below the joist?
It is the roof deck. So it's the ridge, the highest point of the roof deck.
Got it.
That's where it's capped. So that's an application, right? Now, the problem is, once again, okay, yes, we're going to store, you develop, what are you storing? And all of a sudden they go, you know what? We've got a product that, as through the determination, is going to be a class 4. Now we can't protect it with quell, because quell is class 3. That is the highest level of commodity classification it will protect.
Got it.
So then we start going, okay, maybe perhaps a box-in-box warehouse might be a better solution, right? Because then we can protect it we put a wet system above the IMP, because there's ventilated, heated, so we could do wet pipe. Anything above 40 degrees has an opportunity to be a wet pipe sprinkler system.
Yep.
And then through that wet pipe sprinkler system, then we can have the ASRS sprinkler, which is an early suppression, fast response. It's been out in the industry for decades. It dumps a tremendous amount of water, and then we can, put that out that way.
Got it.
So that's one determination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is crazy interesting. So you mentioned a wet system where there's water always in the lines.
That's correct.
Up to the head. I mean, the water's up to, like, at the sprinkler head, waiting to go, right? And then you have a dry system, and you have a dry system for freezers, so the water don't freeze in the pipes.
Yeah. So let me dialogue about that a little bit. So wet system, you're exactly correct. Water is on the sprinkler. The only thing that it needs to activate the sprinkler head is heat. Once that heat gets to the sprinkler temperature, it activates, water's released.
Okay.
On quell systems, they're called double interlock pre-action. So there's two things to that. One is it typically takes some sort of electronic, I'll call it monitoring. Typically it's handled through Protecto or linear heat detection, right?
Protecto wire? It's a wire.
Protecto wire. That's a manufacturer's name. Hopefully they now will become your sponsor. I mentioned it.
Well, it's funny. I've only heard of that wire called that wire. So I didn't know there's other names for it, kind of like tissue paper is Kleenex, right?
So the generic name is called linear heat detection.
Okay.
So that is handled. So that is the first response. So typically that linear heat detection is at the roof. It's very thin wire. It's heat sensitive. When it gets to 155 degrees, it fuses and it sends a signal to the panel, and it energizes. And once again, backing up a little bit, this double interlock reaction, there's no water in the sprinkler pipes. It's completely filled with air or nitrogen. Okay. So it trips a solenoid and it releases the first sequence of this double interlock. Wow. Okay. Now our sprinkler heads are typically at 286 degrees. So now the system is waiting. The fire pump has been pre-started. So it's 100% started. It's at full rev. It's ready to go just in case. The second thing that happens through that linear detection is that all evaporators, all airflow is shut down in the building. Okay. It's because once again, we talked about that horizontal underneath underneath the loads. Same thing happens. We want that heat plume to rise completely vertical up to the sprinkler system. If you get a rise and all of a sudden this heat starts to go and the evaporators, the penthouses are moving, and all of a sudden it starts shifting, it's going to add more sprinklers to the system as they go off, and it will overwhelm the sprinkler system. Okay. So you want to restrict any type of airflow in this building to 5 feet per second, period. Okay. Wow. They want that heat plume to go straight up and activate the sprinklers where the fire is located.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all happening, right?
Wow.
Air is shut down, fire pump has started, the solenoid is tripped, waiting, right? Now, no water's been introduced yet. Now it's waiting for the heat to get higher. Once again, our sprinkler heads are at 286. Once that heat gets to the sprinkler head, it hits that 286. The sprinkler head fuses. All of the air is released out of the sprinkler pipe. At that point in time, once the system senses that there's an air loss, it opens up all of the valves, introduces water into the sprinkler system, and there you go.
Wow.
The unique things about Quell is that there's a requirement that you have to be able to get water from your fire pumps, let's say, or you're within 20 seconds.
Oh, 20 seconds.
20 seconds. So we provide calculations both electronically, and we also test the system once it's, once we install it, once it's tested, we actually test that as well. So 20 seconds. So as soon as that head goes, right, clock starts, 20 seconds, water has to be introduced. That's why you need those fire pumps to be revving, going 100%, ready for that water to go.
In cold storage, that's interesting. And cold storage is a different animal. Obviously, there's fire protection in every building for the most part, but cold storage, let's say you're doing a box and box, we have a drop ceiling of insulated metal panel ceiling, and you guys are going in and I mean, you guys are cutting and sealing hundreds of thousands of sprinkler heads in the panels. How many different types of details or products are there for a system like that for a cooler or freezer?
You mean as in like sprinklers?
I mean, as like, sprinkler heads that have like the boot on the warmer side, which is the vapor barrier side, because that for us is always an ongoing conversation with contractors. The GCs is hey, we have 1,500 sprinkler heads in here. Can you run around and cut all these and foam them? And it's like, well, the sprinkler guy does that, but some might not have confidence in other sprinkler guys that don't do this a lot, or maybe they don't have a good detail where they're not foaming the huge gap that they cut a huge hole in the ceiling bigger than they need to, and they don't foam it. Well, they should foam it. And then the boot that goes on top, that's the vapor barrier part of it. Like, how many different types of that system is there? Are there different manufacturers?
Yeah, there's several manufacturers. Typically, when we're doing a box and box warehouse, we're typically doing an ESFR dry pendant sprinkler head.
Okay.
Meaning that there's no water in that pipe or the sprinkler head, between the sprinkler head and the wet pipe. There's no. It's compressed air. It's spring released, etc. Typically, we're utilizing those. We do cut the hole in your IMP ceiling. We install our sprinkler head. Then we put on a boot. Typically, it's a foam boot with a metal case. It gets screwed directly to the IMP underside of the IMP ceiling. Then we typically do a urethane all in the hole, all the way around the piping at that point in time.
Nice.
We typically do a butylene seal on top of that urethane, the great stuff, whatever you want to call it. We do a butylene seal around the sprinkler pipe and on the IMP. Then we put a top boot on top of the IMP, screw that down. Okay.
So you're doing it right.
Well, thank you.
I hope all my GC friends listen to this. And please contact my boy Vinny for the detail on that. All right.
There you go.
There's your plug,
Now,
man.
well, I appreciate that. Now, there's another caveat too. What is the temperature in that box, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If it's a freezer, if you're sitting at a minus 20 degrees in the box and your ambient, your interstitial space is sitting in Texas, let's say it's sitting at 110 degrees, right?
Yeah.
You've got this big point, right? Of man, there's a lot of issues going on here between temperature fluctuations. So what then we typically do in a freezer application is we also do some form of Armaflex around that sprinkler head to control that condensation, right? Because what we want to have that little bit of gap from that minus 20 to that higher temp above the interstitial. The boot doesn't do it, so you want that Armaflex to control that as well.
Yeah, yeah. You're just insulating the rod, man, or the pipe. Smart.
Doing it right.
Everybody in this industry better be concerned about thermal. I mean, 100%. You guys rule the world, right?
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Well, you do. I mean, the building it's maintained by you guys, right? And if there's any type of thermal issues going on, it's a bad day, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got condensation, you've got icicles, you name it. I've seen it, right? And the thermal is the issue. So we're very conscious of that 100%.
Rightfully so.
We've had some bad days.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's always seems to be, as you know, we're going to jump into market trends here for a second, and this is going to be a good segue in my opinion. And so the industry in itself, as you know, has introduced a lot of new faces. Okay. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of new general contractors and even architects getting into this controlled environment space. And
we've had a ton of growth.
You've seen it. I mean, you've seen all these new names come in and hey, we're going to build this and we want to get into this. And a lot of them are making the right play because they're calling trusted partners, right? They're calling you guys or us or, not even, there's other good ones out there too, but they're just calling like people that are a part of SEBA and they know cold storage. They've been doing it a long time and they really rely on us to keep them out of trouble. But the ones that don't do it, I've been on jobs where a GC's like, hey, it's, what's up with the sprinkler detail? And I'm like, who'd you hire? And I've never heard of this company before. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And, they don't know what they're doing per se because they've never done a freezer or cooler, but they got the job. So now it's harder for us, right? And I think that's a market trend. I'll start off saying I think that is a market trend right now where, we really need to take a step back and do what we can to educate the industry and everybody because we want everybody to be successful. We don't want anybody to go in a job and lose money or have to go back to the job for 5 months because of issues, right? We want to make sure the customer, the end user, that's at the end of the day, that's who we need to take care of and make sure that they have a nice building that works. It's functional, vapor tight, safe, right? Functional. Market trends for you, Vince. What are you seeing out there right now as far as market trends? I mean, you can go anywhere with this. You can go the industry growth, the developers, you can go into like different type of fire protection systems you see that are being developed or new. What do you see?
I think you're spot on with some of the industry growth from different general contractors, bringing in some of their tried and true, from, let's say, big box warehouses, right? Mm-hmm. They sometimes think, well, it's just a warehouse. We can do this, and sure. So there is that cautionary aspect. I bid the work. I know my competition. And if there is some of that and, we're not awarded that work, I am very blunt with these customers and say, guys, if you want me to read any type of proposal, if you want me to read anything that these guys have given you, let me know. We want to make sure that you guys are providing the right product for the customer.
Yeah.
I think it's for the betterment, right? Mm-hmm. We've also been in some of these other situations where we've been hired and all of a sudden you're seeing some details, you're seeing some things in the documents that are not making sense. They're not your typical, hey, this, and there's been applications, there's been instances where, case in point, we've seen an IMP go from floor through roof, right? To break the roof. Mm-hmm. And through the bidding process, there was a document with double columns to provide that. When the design rubber meets the road, all of a sudden double columns got removed.
Oof.
And we noticed it and raised our hand and we're saying, hey, there used to be a double. No, we got, we removed that, some cost implications, et cetera. And well, have you thought about, right? So we've expressed this because we've seen them. We know what they're for, right? Even though I'm a sprinkler guy, I'm in all of it.
You still see it. You still know it. You're educating.
Yes, exactly. And so we see that. We try to educate as we can. As far as some of the market trends that we're seeing, obviously, I think the big thing across the board, and this is not new to anybody, is availability of people to work in these warehouses.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we're seeing taller. We're seeing DNAs, so very narrow aisle racking being installed in taller buildings. And these very narrow aisle rack systems, they utilize a forklift with a heated cab. So typically these aisles between racks are typically between 5 and 6 feet. These forklifts run down the aisles, so they're very narrow. And then the actual cab of the forklift rises with the forks, and it's a heated situation. These guys are picking, they're bringing down, they're doing what needs to be done.
Oh, those are cool.
Yep. So that's a market trend that we're seeing. Once again, it's getting taller, very narrow aisle. Those types of systems will require, once you're above that 45-foot height, they will require in-rack sprinklers. So you're putting sprinklers in the actual racks themselves. Which nobody wants to see, right? Nobody wants that, but
because you can hit them, is that the deal? Because you can damage them.
It is. Okay. Yeah, you got to be careful, right? When you're picking that load off, that you don't take it up too high and hit the sprinkler.
Sure.
So, but the advantage of those VNAs is the actual cab of the forklift rises with the forks, so the operator is visually looking. When you're down below and you're picking a pallet, let's say at 40 feet, but you're sitting 3 feet off the ground, you can't see that, right? So that's what that VNA option, those types of forklifts help with, is the fact that the cab rises. They're visually looking right at the load, seeing the sprinkler pipe if it's there, et cetera. So that's one of the market trends that we're seeing. Now, the other market trend is obviously fully automated, right? So ASRS type buildings, going up to 150 foot tall and taller, with, 17 levels of product. Everything is fully automated with cranes, et cetera. We're seeing a lot more of that as well. Once again, that will require in-rack sprinkler systems, but the advantage to that, once again, is it's automated. So there is a pick-off set computer, right? Through all of the programming, it automatically only picks that pallet up X many inches, moves it out. So there's clearance for the sprinkler pipe.
Exactly. How many ASRSs have you guys done in your career at Ahern?
I think just in our division, we've probably done, I would say, between 15 and 20 ASRS buildings.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. We just did our first one.
We just did our first one,
as Breeze Construction. Yeah.
Nice. How tall?
130-ish?
I think I know what project that is.
It was in Georgia.
I know what project it was.
It was fun. It was wild because, I've done this before in my previous life, but you have zero control over Mother Nature. And you're picking a panel and it's 150 or 110 feet in the air, 100 feet in the air. And, Mother Nature has a wind gust of 20, 30 mile an hour winds. And it's pretty crazy. And then all of a sudden you can only work for 3-4 hours for that day because of the high winds. And, you got a $30,000-$40,000 a month crane on site that you're not using right now. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I can tell you we're looking at one right now. We're developing it with the customer, et cetera. And so, when we look at these ASRSs, we typically partner with the racking vendor. We install probably roughly 90% of our sprinkler pipe on the ground in their jigs, right?
Really?
So they're installing their
So do you work with Fraser?
I do.
We had Fraser on the show.
Yes, we did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Yeah.
Was it Peter?
It was.
Yeah. He's a beauty. Yeah. Fraser's great, man. They do a lot. If you ever get a chance to listen to his podcast, it's unbelievable how much steel they are bending, man. Oh my goodness.
So
It's
we work
wild.
with them very well. And once again, we're installing our piping in the jigs on the ground, and then at whatever height, right? If it's 150 feet, their rack is 150 feet long. Our sprinkler systems are in there as well. They then lift our pipe, their racks with their crane together. And so then what we have to do is, once the racks are all put together, right, and they're safe for us to go into the building, then we have to climb the racks, and we then put the sections together, right? Because obviously the racks don't necessarily come together.
Right.
And we can never plan on that rack being set exactly, together where our pipe is meeting. So we got to go in there, put a spool piece in there, combine all the sprinkler systems, put everything together, etc. So we climb the racks, unfortunately.
Crazy.
I will tell you, safety is a major concern in the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants everybody to come home. Everybody has family members.
100%.
Nobody wants. Installing piping, I will promote this 100%. Installing piping on the ground in the jigs with the racking vendor is the safest that you can do. Once again, you're installing all that pipe 6-8 feet off the ground, right? Versus 140. Now we do have to climb, and we have to be very cautious, right?
Yep.
And so you still have to climb, but if you can limit the amount of time that you're climbing up in those racks, that's the safety aspect.
Yeah, you're reducing a ton of risk there by building more than half your system in the racks in the ground, and then once it's all together. I didn't realize that. So when I was on that job site, I'm seeing the Fraser fly this racking, and I'm like, I actually thought one day I'm like, who has to go back and put sprinkler systems in this when it's all done? And I never put two and two together. That makes sense. Build it on the ground and then just tie it together. Once it's all erected, you just start connecting all the pipes and stuff. But that's cool.
Now, some applications you can't. You get into, let's say a 60, 80 foot building, right? That's maybe a conventionally built building. And
that's what they're doing, though. Those are now conventional freezer heights, 50, 60, 66.
Yeah. And so then those racks are stick built. And so we have to climb 100%. They're not erected, flown into place, etc.
Right.
So it's an application. You still have to be safe. Now, to go back to your point about weather, it's a concern for us as well, because our piping is in those racks. And just like you said, if the weather does not allow those racks to fly, that means we can't work.
Yeah.
And so we've got to think through that process as well about contingency, weather delays, etc.
Sure.
Can I ask you a question, Vince?
Of course.
What was the length of the panel that you sent out there?
Oh, I had 3 of them, 2 stack joints. So one was 39, 44, and 41 or 2 or something like that.
So what's the longest panel that you've ever done?
Longest single panel I've ever installed, probably around 63 to 65 continuous panel. That's how long it was. A very long panel.
That's a long panel.
It's very expensive to ship too.
I was just going to say, logistics are crazy, huh?
Yeah, you got a special permitted rate load, and they're expensive. I mean, you're paying, you're paying probably $4,000 to $8,000 a truck, depending on where it's coming from, right? How far things got to go.
Yeah. So those, to get back to the industry trends, I think those are some of the industry trends we're seeing. I want to interject something. You asked a question, not yet, but I'm sure it's coming. And I think this industry trend ties into it. Sorry for taking your limelight, Vinny.
I love it.
I love it. No, that was Jenna's question.
It goes back to the industry trend. And one of the questions that I know you're going to ask me is how did I get involved in this industry, right?
Your cool story.
Yeah. My cool story. And so you're going to get
sponsored by our friends at Iceberg Mechanical.
That's it.
Very good.
Now you can go.
Now you can go.
All right. So I wasn't always in cold, obviously, right? Sprinkler contractor, we do a wide range of across the board. I was not working for Ahern at the time. I was working for another company. We were doing a lot of postal annex buildings around the country. That's when they were doing warehouses that were attached to, their major postal service buildings. And we were just traveling, doing a lot of these big box warehouses for the Postal Service. I was in Sacramento, California, doing one. I was in a hotel room watching TV news at night, right? After the project, and just kind of sitting there. I'm thinking this is going to be right around 2008. And I was watching the news, and at that point in time, and I'm hoping my dates are right, but Governor Schwarzenegger announced he was releasing water back to the farmers up and down the valley, right? The San Joaquin. And at that point, we were hearing fresh, right? The catchphrase of the days, and in those early 2000s and mid 2000s was fresh. Everything was fresh. It was everywhere fresh, right?
Oh yeah.
And I grew up as a farmer. I was hoping to be a farmer, when I was younger. And then you see how much hard work there's involved with it, and you're going, maybe I don't want to be a farmer no more, right? But I grew up in that farming industry, and it clicked in my head. Oh my gosh, they're going to release X many millions of acres back, right? It's been fallow because they shut the water down. So there was nothing growing out in the San Joaquin for millions of acres.
Wow.
And Schwarzenegger released this water in my brain. It triggered, oh my gosh. And I can tell you right then and there, I started to research like produce, things that were being grown in the San Joaquin. And I was like, this is going to be like the major moment of produce. And I started to go, okay, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for me? I started to look into the cold storage. I started to look into those sprinkler systems. What does it do, et cetera? And at that point in time, I went to my boss and I said, here is the thing that we have to get involved in. Yes. Right? And so I went to my boss and we went to our first IARW and listened to what was going on. And he came back and he goes, 100% agree. This is where we've got to be.
Wow.
And at that point in time, then obviously we went to Tyco. We all got well certified. You have to, you have to have a license. You have to do the training on qual, et cetera. So we went and did that, all of that. And I never looked back. And I get geeked up. Like this stuff geeks me up. Food, all that stuff. It just geeks me up. I love it.
That's cool.
So,
that is a really cool story.
That is a really cool story. Damn.
You saw it. You had that intuition and you went with it. That's awesome.
So, Vinny, when things are all said and done and you sail off in sunset and retire, what do you want people to remember you as in this industry?
I believe what I bring to the industry is honesty and teaching and just being a straight shooter, right? I don't sugarcoat things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That will be my legacy. I've heard it from different customers. You bring a different language, right? There's a no sometimes, and we sometimes have to appreciate that. And so that's what I think my legacy will be, is just, talking the truth, integrity, etc. So
that's awesome. Now, I have another fun question for you. So if I am a end user and I have a meeting with you, I have a meeting with the other guy. I mean, I love asking this question because I dig sales. Why should I buy from you?
Well, I can tell you that our labor, the people who actually boots on the ground install these systems, are bar none the best in the world. These guys, they know it, they understand it, they communicate, right?
That's huge.
Something I've been trying to teach our entire group is empathy. Okay, when you walk into these buildings, you start developing these relationships, understand what's all behind maybe some of the frustration that's going on. Why is Vince Free calling me and telling me, why are you punching holes in my IMP? Right? Understand the empathy, understand where he's coming from, right? And so I think bar none, our field is just superb. I will also tell you, Ahern does everything in-house. We engineer everything in-house. Okay. All of our design engineering is done in-house. Okay. Number two, all of our fabrication is done in-house.
Wow.
It's very important. We fabricate it all in Fond du Lac. We ship it across the country.
Mhm.
It is a quality control thing. A lot of our piping, the majority of our piping is galvanized piping. That's a very hard thing to weld, right? I mean, galvanized and welding doesn't necessarily go together so much. It's a hard thing to weld. You have to know the quality control. You have to have experience in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you go to a local vendor that may not have that application, all of a sudden there's a pinhole. There's things going on, right?
Yeah.
When temperature starts getting pulled down in a building, you do not want a sprinkler pipe to have a pinhole in it, because you know what? Temperature is not stopping. It's going to continue. And so we have found out, bad experiences back in the, 2012, 2014, where we've done some of that local. The quality is just not there. So it was a 100% determination. Everything is fabricated in Fond du Lac, shipped out, quality control. Everybody signs their initials or a sticker that goes on the pipe for their welding, etc. So our estimating, our sales department, myself, excluded, we are the industry leaders in knowledge on how to do the sprinkler systems. There are so many times that we walk into a proposal or we walk into an office, right? We're providing our documents on this is what we're providing. We ask questions, and it amazes me how many times that questions aren't being asked of the right things, right?
Sure.
Because you got to know what these sprinkler systems, how to make them work correctly. And if you're not asking the right questions, that's a bad day, we'll call it. And so we ask a lot of questions to ensure that our proposals, our expectations, our intent aligns with what the owner wants.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's why you buy.
That's it. Sold. Sold, man. That's why I buy it from my boy Vince Humphreys right there. That's it. And it's funny. You're the only guest out of all of our guests when I asked that question. You led with your people.
Yeah.
You know that? Your field people. You're the only one that said that. That's what you led with. That's a big deal because we operate the same way. Like we don't exist without our field team. And we love our field guys and we pour so much into them. And dude, they're just amazing human beings. And, I love visiting sites and seeing them and giving them the bro handshake and the daps. They're
people who care about what they do. Clearly, your team cares about what they do,
yes, they do.
To be, the best at what they do. You don't just show up every day and you become the best at what you do. You have to put in the time. You have to care.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it. And it sounds like Ahern has that.
Something to be said about that, man.
It is. And I will also tell you that, yes, my title might be a salesman. Everybody in our company, in our division, is a salesman. We instill that to everybody. Our field is the best sales that we could ever do.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Bar none, they're your best supplier right there. And so we appreciate everybody in our entire company. Our designers, engineers are absolutely amazing. They're very thought-provoking, thinking outside the box, always asking questions, right? The best way to learn is to make mistakes. And so we allow them to make sure that they're learning those mistakes, looking at those mistakes, and then moving on from them to be better the next time. So
sweet.
Well, tell us, Vince, so based in Fond du Lac, Ahern, they know where they can go if they want to go to the museum, but where can they find information about Ahern, what Ahern's doing, what socials are you on? Where can they see more about the company?
And or how to get a hold of you.
Exactly.
Well, I will tell you that my email address is Humphreys, and that's spelled Humphrheys at ahernfire.com, and that's spelled AHERNFIRE.com. So that's how to best handle me email wise. My phone number is 720-245-5908. So if you go to JFAHRN jfahern.com. So once again, jfahern.com.
Mm-hmm.
That is our website. We are all across social media with information as well. There's a ton of information within the website, etc. Once again, we're a large contractor. Fire protection is part of that contracting, so you'll see different applications in there. Our company has wastewater treatment piping, so they do a lot of pre-manufactured welded piping, spools, things like that. They ship pipe across the world for desalination plants, wastewater treatment. We're a full mechanical company in the upper Midwest. We are a full plumbing contractor in the upper Midwest. I will also say, I've been talking about sprinklers, and I need to say this. We also have a special hazards division. So they go in and they are doing the linear detection that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
They're doing that protect the wire. They're doing gas systems in these buildings, right? Some of the foam systems that may be required, to protect some high hazard buildings. We have those. They are intricate to our success. They are a division of ours. Greg Barker, he's my right-hand man when it comes to that. And so we develop these projects together because he has to provide that pricing. So very intricate. I should have mentioned that up front. Our special hazards department is
that's interesting.
Fantastic. So that's another application that us as, what do we do best? We have that in-house.
Sure.
Right.
It's a big deal.
Huge value add.
Big value add.
Because there's, we've gone into some of these where we provide a proposal, we get to look at maybe some competitors' information, and all of a sudden we're like, did they provide linear detection costs? And they get into it. Oh, they didn't. Oh, okay. Well, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah, for sure.
Pick that up. So yeah, go out to the website, jfahern.com.
Got you.
Tons of information out there.
Got you. Well, I got you on the hot spot, man. What's your favorite trade show or conference to attend each year?
I like SEBA. I think SEBA is a good conference to go to. I think it's probably my better to go to. I think it's a lot of fun.
And that one is in Sawgrass, Florida?
It is in Ponte Vedra.
Ponte Vedra, yep. And November, I want to say 10th through the 11th through the 14th?
I believe you're absolutely correct in that.
Yep. Yes, sir. Awesome. Well, I want to be cognizant and respectful of your time. I do have to shoot a bunch of random questions at you into this or that segment. And again, I want to take a moment and thank Iceberg Mechanical.
Yes, thank you guys.
They're a refrigeration contractor out of Florida. They do, ammonia, Freon. They are good pals of ours. They're good little refrigeration company out there, man. And just want to thank them for the support of this podcast. It allows us to do this, Vince. It allows us to get you on the show and make us all look pretty with the editing and not sound ridiculous. Which
is a challenge for you, babe.
Which is a big challenge for me. So exactly.
I have it.
It does happen. There it is. You heard it first. So thank you to you guys. And obviously, Vince Humphreys, Ahern Fire, you're the man here, but I'm not going to let you off too yet. This is the cool times segment, rapid round questions. I'm going to ask you questions and you got to pick this or that of what I'm asking you. All right. Ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. I'll keep it short and sweet for you. All right.
Yes.
Attend a party or host a party?
Attend a party.
Wine or beer?
It depends on the application.
I love it.
Man, you're supposed to pick one.
I will pick beer for burgers and I will pick wine for steaks.
There you go. Owe money or owe a favor?
Owe a favor.
There you go. Are you cash?
I'm one cheap son of a.
There you go. There you go. Cash or credit?
Credit.
Okay. Let's go with.
Can I stop you there though? I have a story on that.
Yes.
I used to be a cash guy living in Colorado, and we lived amongst a bunch of younger people, and it was just hysterical to them that I carried around cash, and it just used to be a running joke. Now we're all credit. Yes.
Okay. Fishing on a pond or ice fishing?
Fishing on a pond.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Love pond fishing.
Pond fishing is the best. Okay.
I have one.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Bluegill fish fry or perch fish fry?
Perch.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Perch or walleye?
Walleye.
Yeah. For those who have not had walleye, it is probably one of the best fish ever.
It is.
So
and
good.
If you don't know what a fish fry is, you need to go to the Midwest.
You need to go to Wisconsin.
I'm going to have to throw out a shout out to a supper club that's just down the road to us. It's Hillcrest Supper Club in Townsend, Wisconsin. They absolutely have the best walleye.
Stop.
Hillcrest. We're coming for you.
Oh, I'm coming for you now, man.
We're coming for you.
We gotta bring my dad. I got some Green Bay Packer games on my schedule this year. I'll be on your neck of the woods.
There you go. Come on up.
Let's go. All right. Are you a box and box or ground up project kind of guy?
I'm a ground up.
Okay. Are you ping pong or air hockey?
Air hockey.
Are you beach side or pool side?
Beach side.
Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake?
Justin Timberlake.
Yes, that's what he wants to hear.
I don't need to hear anything. Like it. Awesome, my guy. Well, Vince, you're a stud, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
You know, just again, shout out to you, what you guys are doing over there at Ahern. Homegrown, man, family owned since 1880. And then obviously all of our listeners, you guys can listen to our show on Spotify or Apple Podcast and watch our show on YouTube. If you want to watch the videos of us, you can. You can watch our secret handshake, fire and water. And and obviously you guys, we're on all the social medias too. Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that good stuff. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you,
my lovely
thank you.
Wife, host, partner. Vinny, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you. And we will chat with you soon. See you at SEBA, all right, buddy?
You can see the rain stopped and the sun is back out.
Yes, it is.
There it is, man. There it is.
Gorgeous.
You can see the water on the
I love it. All right, my guy. Until next time, guys. Thank you for listening to Cool Times Podcast.
Thank you.